How do you hear the crowd screaming?
That sound right there is me rubbing my balls. Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Film Asylum. We are your hosts, Colin Peters here.
John Rochetter.
And Jeff Manfred.
We got another exciting episode for you.
Is it really exciting? Because I'm still pissed that you guys made me watch this fucking thing.
I'm pissed at John because he can't let this episode go.
It's the people that watched this previous review that we've had of Showgirls, and now, for better or worse, it's become our most highest rated, or not rated and watched review that we've done so far.
Is it really rated that high too?
Well, the viewership is blowing everything else out of the water, and apparently the likes and dislikes and the comments just keep piling up. I'm at a loss of words, just like the year that we're living in right now.
This is mind-blowing. We had no idea what to expect when we did Showgirls. I mean, we just picked this bad movie that we thought we should change topics and genres and talk about a variety of things when we first started this thing. And of all things, it hit 1,000 views in less than a week?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I was actually more impressed with that than anything because I'm like, listen, this is the shittiest movie I've ever seen in my life. And these two know how much I hate this movie. I think everyone knows how much I hate this movie. And then I'm watching as the views are just climbing like crazy. That's why the original bet was made, because I'm like, I didn't expect anything from this episode. Because, like, I go, yeah, dude, John talked a lot. He made it sound as beautiful as it could, but it's still a piece of shit. And, like, I lost my mind. I still lost my mind. When I had to watch the now documentary of the same shit we literally just talked about.
You do forget that all three of us did not like this movie. I just had a few nice things to say, and everybody else kind of trashed it, but we all unanimously agreed. Yeah, the 4 fucking pages of notes.
4 pages of notes? You're saying you didn't have anything
We all
nice.
unanimously agreed that it's a terrible movie. And apparently we underestimated the idea of its cult following. We underestimated that it had this... I don't even know what to call it exactly.
Dude, I did not realize the cult following until after we did the episode. Watching the documentary itself, like, they started talking about it, and I'm like, I didn't even know about it. I was like, listen, I didn't even want to know about it, and then, like...
I think I saw a trailer for it a couple months ago, and that's how I found out about it. I'm like,
actually, I think I sent it to you guys, because I'm like, there's no fucking way there's a documentary. And I'm like, I sent it to you guys because being a smartass, and then all of a sudden I was not expecting this. Like, you guys watched it first, and it took me, almost 2 months later for me to actually watch it?
Yeah.
But here's the funny thing, you guys paid for it. I did not.
Yeah, we did.
Well, John paid for it.
I paid for it, you watched it for free. Yeah, that's pretty much the case. But I can tell you that I definitely enjoyed the documentary a lot more than the actual fucking movie. So we're going to get into it.
It was shorter.
It was a lot shorter.
By an hour. And, well, for me, 3.5 hours shorter than...
So yes, we're talking about, I guess you can call this like an anniversary episode, and it happens to be our first documentary that we've talked about on the channel. This is...
man, really?
Yeah, the first documentary.
No, I'm now.
Yep, bye.
Nope, you can't. We've already gone too far.
You're by yourself.
This is not like last time where I wanted to do over. Nope, we're moving forward. But yes, we're talking about a documentary called You Don't Know Me. It was directed by Jeffrey McHale. This is his directorial debut as a filmmaker.
Sorry.
Yeah. Well, you gotta start somewhere. And he wanted to start with this.
Boy, he really set the bar low then, didn't he?
Like, you could trip over the bar. That's how low it got set.
I mean, he may have when he was filming this. Who knows? The people that he interviewed, I'm sure, did. I'm sure they dreaded the idea of talking about this movie after, 20-some years? Yeah. It's a film that explores the controversy, failure, misunderstanding, possibly, and the cult success of the 1995 movie Showgirls. that we talked about last year. And as we said before, it is our highest viewed review that we've done on this channel. Like I said before, I definitely enjoyed the documentary a lot more than the film itself because it does poke fun of the movie. It does exploit behind the scenes of not just the Razzie Awards that it swept in 1995, but also had like exclusive interviews with Elizabeth Berkley and with Paul Verhoeven, and then with some of the cast members. I think Kyle MacLachlan, I don't think he was in the documentary. Maybe he was. They referenced him. But I don't think he wanted to talk about it because his experience was pretty bad. Like, he actually sat in a movie theater while this movie happened, and he was dreading the experience. I think he left.
Oh, wow.
He hated the movie so much that he's like, I can't believe I did what I just did. I'm out of here. But as I watched this movie, I realized something that I'm glad this documentary did, is that when I watch a documentary, it's kind of like a science experiment. That's the way I see it. So you have to have a hypothesis, materials, procedure, results, and then hopefully it builds to a conclusion. The only thing I can think of that Jeffrey McHale was trying to come up with a hypothesis is, what did you predict? And he probably predicted that this doc will shed light on Showgirls for better or worse. You got the materials, you got the awards, the backlash, the images, the interviews, procedures, making a case for the arguments, be as detailed as you can with critics, actors, comedians, and writers. What are the results? Did it make you appreciate it? And my conclusion is that my opinion did not change. I still fucking hate Showgirls. And I don't care about it, but I learned something. I learned that the direction, I think I mentioned this before, it was given more care than perceived, and perhaps we really underestimated this movie. That's the only conclusion I drew up, is that more direction was given to it than I thought, because very early on in the documentary, we see a couple things of, we talked about foreshadowing, but there was even more foreshadowing that was lit in the documentary with Kyle MacLachlan walking on stage while the volcano's erupting. You can see the fire. It's like, ooh, the evil guy is coming up with an evil mastermind. Even a subtle detail outside of the Vegas hotel, there is a woman in a walker who is like inching her way into the building. So she's handicapped, and she's underneath a giant image of Crystal Connors. So it's like, oh, you're trying to say that she's going to get injured later on in the movie. So that's something I didn't pick up on, but there's more things that I definitely missed. And I can definitely say one thing. After learning about Paul Verhoeven's past movies that he made when he was in the Netherlands, I'm honestly not shocked he made this movie. I'm really not surprised. Look at his resume when he was doing movies like Business is Business, Turkish Delight, and a movie called Spetters, which actually got him banned from the Netherlands for a time, exploiting homophobia in his country. So after that, he went to America and just took his talent and his taste for exploiting the flesh to America. With movies like Flesh and Blood, and then he signed on to do RoboCop and Total Recall. And then once Basic fucking Instinct happened...
Yo, I didn't even realize it was his. Like, I knew about RoboCop. I didn't even realize Total Recall was his, too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, you got two really good action movies back to back,
Yeah.
and then you got Basic Instinct.
That felt like his audition tape for Showgirls. It's like, okay, we got away with all of this in Basic Instinct, and it made a lot of money. So like, okay, let's push the envelope more and make Showgirls. Even the 90s itself, I think it was like Fatal Attraction that just kind of set it off. And when you have a movie like Color of Night with Bruce Willis, another sexual thriller that won the Razzie for worst film that year, and then the next year it's upstaged by Showgirls. But there's the thing. I'd rather watch the pool sex scene in Color of Night than the fucking pool sex scene in Showgirls. God damn it.
Dude, you gotta admit, that pool sex scene's hilarious, though.
Oh, it is.
But as the documentary pointed out, it was the same thing she did in the strip club as what she did in the pool. So it mirrored what happened. And I'm like, I didn't even care. I was like, dude, they're both bad. I don't need to see either one of them. Like, I was going to start this out with like, oh yeah, dude, after watching the documentary, I wanted to rewatch the movie. No, I don't want to spend another like 9 days trying to figure out why I'm watching this movie. Because I still don't understand the pull for it. Like, I don't understand the cult classic status of this. I don't understand any of it. Like, even after watching the documentary, I was like, cool, I got a lot of insight. It was more about Paul Verhoeven, which I thought was really cool. And then I was like, I didn't care so much after the fact. And then like them talking about Elizabeth Berkley finally like coming out at, like talking about the movie after 20 years, it was like, I could see why. It wrecked your movie career. You've been doing TV ever since. Not like it's a bad thing, don't get me wrong, but it's like you haven't done a movie because of this one movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing really changed my mind with the documentary either. I mean, I respect Paul Verhoeven more because, like you said, John, there was more symbolism that they mentioned. Other than that, I was like, okay, cool. I mean, and I do like it when directors do that, but some stuff, unless you're like really looking for it or you're diving deep into it, then I mean, then it's more respectable, I guess. But I mean, overall, like, I don't care. Like, when I heard all that stuff, I was like, I don't care. Like, because I just didn't care about any of the characters in the movie. I think everything was just boring and lame. There is a sense of art to it, like any other project, whether it's good or bad. I still think this is a bad movie.
Oh yeah, I do too.
I mean, there's nothing that really anybody can say to convince my mind to say like it's good, because no, I don't want to ever watch this movie again. I didn't find any enjoyment out of it. I don't see any reason to say like it has rewatchability to me. I think those who enjoy it see the art, see the symbolism that goes along with the filmmaking, but I think in the end it's really just an entertaining movie. And that's what people don't understand, is that there's a difference between an entertaining movie, a good movie, and a bad movie. And I mean, a good and bad movie can be entertaining.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the movie like The Room and Samurai Cop. They're horrible, but they're entertaining.
God damn, they're entertaining.
I mean, that's what I think Showgirls is. Like, most of the time when I hear people talk about this movie, it's how ridiculous and stupid it is. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And then I saw in our comment section that there were some people who said that it actually encapsulates what Vegas life is like. Now, I've never been to Vegas. I have absolutely no desire to go to Vegas. After this movie, I really don't want to go to Vegas. And I'm like, okay, but does that make it good? No.
It, like, after the documentary, I was texting them before telling them I hate them super much for making me rewatch this. But I was like, as they were pointing out in the whole thing, that they tried to put multiple genres in one movie. You've got all drama, you've got comedy, you've got realism, and it just seemed like every scene was something new. Instead of it being just, let's say, if you wanted the realistic effect of Vegas, that should have been the main genre, and then sprinkle everything throughout what it is. It shouldn't have been like, hey, this scene's going to be this scene's going to be that. And that was the one thing that, like, took me out of the movie, because there's too much noise, I guess would be the best way to get it to actually keep on track. So, like, you've got all this craziness going on. Nomi alone is a fucking tornado coming through, and you already know that she's going to fuck shit up throughout the movie. So, like, you already have this tornado. You don't need these other fucking tornadoes jumping in. Like, you've got Crystal being an asshole. You've got, I don't even remember his name, Kevin, whatever the fuck his name is. You said it earlier. You don't need him being a scumbag. You don't need all the extra scumbagginess of these characters, because you already have this one that eventually turns into a hurricane and fucks everyone's life up. And
I wish that was. I hope that's
this is
the
the
motivation.
actual plot of Showgirls.
Yeah, I hope that's the motivation Paul Verhoeven gave Elizabeth Berkley. You are a hurricane set to fuck shit up.
It'd be more like, you are a hurricane. You're going to fuck everything up, and you're going to fuck Kyle MacLachlan.
there you go.
Oh god. I remember like the critics even saying, like, just from the moment where she's putting her thumb out hitchhiking, even that is at a notch 11. The way she's holding her thumb out. Oh god, it's them when they realize that, are we about to watch a masterpiece of shit? Are we? I think we might be. I'll tell you one thing, if you guys want to watch a realistic Las Vegas movie, go check out Leaving Las Vegas with Nicolas Cage. That's a better movie.
I was going to say Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas with Johnny Depp and Benicio del Toro.
That's another one.
If you think about it, those are three separate movies now. So you've got one all about the drug use in Vegas. You've got one about, I would say, the stripping in Vegas, and then you've got the one with Nick fucking Cage, and I'm not going to even explain because it's Nick Cage. It's going to be crazy and off the wall. But you got 3 separate occurrences in Vegas. It seems like
just watch the casino flip out scene. That's all you need. It's just that one scene.
I guess there's a reason why whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Yeah.
But like you said, Jeff, about the different genres, I felt the exact same way. And then they interviewed Kyle MacLachlan about it, and he said that it was supposed to be a serious drama. And then Elizabeth Berkley saying that, oh, we were supposed to have fun with it. It's like, what?
Did you know what you were making? Did anybody know what they were making?
Exactly. And I'm thinking, well, now, is this intentional? No, because, like, if they're making this symbolism with the art, it's like, okay, so Kyle MacLachlan, we're going to pitch this idea that the whole movie's serious for you, but it's going to be fun and a comedy for Elizabeth Berkley.
Well, if you think about it, he was a serious scumbag, so he had to stay in that serious tone where she was the tornado kind of fucking shit up, so she was there for the fun.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, did they pitch it to them like that?
Probably.
Could be.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
We don't know because we weren't there, but...
Exactly.
I don't think anybody was there. They were probably in a small room with like 5 people, like, yeah, this is what it is.
We're going to have nudity. Lots of it.
Yeah, and the CIA saying, you have to present it like this to brainwash the masses.
I'm glad there's another thing that was pointed out in the documentary saying that, according to what Jeffrey McHale was trying to point out, is that the movie was never meant to be sexy at all. And there's no way it can be, because the nudity and the sex scenes that happen, it's not surprising because it's all over. We expect it. That's what does it. That's what makes it not sexy.
Yes.
I mean, and I appreciate or respect Paul Verhoeven for like being a very ambitious and go-getter type of filmmaker, where he's not ashamed of nudity. He's not ashamed. He's like, I think people should be comfortable in their own skin. I think that is something that shouldn't be shamed or demonized in Hollywood. I think that should be exploited more. That's what he was set out to do. So he definitely makes, and another thing I noticed that the documentary pointed out is that in his movies, he doesn't really make a weak female character because they're never damsels in distress. I mean, look at Anne Lewis from RoboCop. She's as tough as nails.
Yeah, all the women, 50 cal at the end. Hell
all the women from RoboCop, I mean, from Total Recall, they're tough as nails. They're not, looking to be saved. Nomi Malone, for all the ridiculous shit that she does, I guess she's not really a damsel in distress, even though she's a wrecking ball of hell.
Come on, she kicks the shit out of that rapist at the end of the movie with the switchblade.
I still think there should have been a fight scene with the other 2 guards. Sure, missed opportunity. I wish that could have happened. Yeah, or Crystal Connors. I mean, yeah, he doesn't make characters or female characters that are weak in any way. Like he doesn't do that. So good points for him, or brownie points for him, if you will. At least he was in good spirits when he accepted the Razzie Award. I think he even said, like, when he accepted the award, because he was the first person to actually accept his Razzie Award in person before Halle Berry did it with Catwoman. Yeah, she came on stage and was like, "Thank you, Warner Brothers, for giving me this piece of shit movie." But he comes on stage, he's like, "I'd rather accept this award than listen to another review of my movie Showgirls." So, and he got a standing ovation, I think, for like after what he said. So, thank you for all you've done for me. Thank you for not trashing me and just accepting the trash that it is right now.
And that's awesome, because he's a foreign guy who came to America, made a slight career for himself here, and then kind of got disbarred and then went back overseas and has built himself up for another career again. But when Showgirls was this complete disaster when it first came out, he had this amazing sense of humor about it, which, I mean, he could have easily have been like, "Oh, you fucking Americans don't understand, this was art." No, he was like, "Hey, I'm not going to enjoy myself no matter what." So that was awesome.
I mean, he's still making films. I mean, he a couple years ago, I think he got a couple Golden Globe wins and nominations for a foreign movie that he made. I forget what it was called, though, but it got like critical praise from everybody. And it was kind of following the same formula of like a sexual thriller or a woman that dealt with a traumatic past and she rises above it and beats the shit out of the villain, basically. So I forget exactly what it's called. It's on IMDb, but it got a lot of attention. And good for him, because he has one of the most varied careers I've ever seen for a filmmaker.
And he's worked with a lot of talented people. I mean, I gotta say, his most famous one in America is RoboCop, hands down. You know, just because of like how popular that franchise, well, pop culture that character became, and then it turned into a franchise. And I mean, let's be honest, it was only really one good one, and everything went down after that.
Yeah. He almost didn't do it. I know, like, his wife convinced him to do it. He was gonna pass on RoboCop, but she convinced him, thinking, well, maybe you should go in the more satirical approach about American culture and violence and this area. And he actually liked what she was presenting to him, and because of that, he signed on to direct the movie.
Mm-hmm. He saw it in a different eye instead of just a sci-fi action thing. He saw the resurrection and thought of it as like a second coming kind of thing, which made it better, because you saw that in the sequels then, that something was lacking with it. Like the second one was like a comic book movie come to life and had no real substance to it at all. The third one, I'd like to hear Jeff review that.
I would love to hear Jeff review that one.
In due time.
I mean, the second one did have a pretty good fight between him and Robocane. I thought that was kind of cool.
Wait, the second one with the drugs and turning the dude into a giant robot.
The drug nuke.
Okay.
They didn't even have the theme song from the first movie.
No. He looked really blue. Like, he got even more blue. I know, like, police officers have blue in their uniforms, but he just looked like really standout blue, where it was like blue-gray in the original. The drug nuke was like something like, it came from like a squeeze packet that you just stuck in your neck. Yeah. Like, it was...
And it's sad when people say, the second one's the best one since the first one. And I'm like, if this one's the best one, boy, that tells you a lot about the franchise.
That doesn't say much.
Exactly.
That says almost nothing. That's like making Jaws 2 compared to the first Jaws. Like, oh, yeah, it's the best sequel, but that's not really saying much.
I would say Jaws 3 is probably the best sequel.
Just because it's the most ridiculous?
Oh my god, yeah.
It was in 3D, guys.
Was it, though?
Yo, this is how bad Jaws 3 is. I read Slash's book, and he talked about seeing Jaws 3D in theaters, and he said, I don't remember much, I just remember that it was a bad movie. And he's done a lot of drugs, including heroin.
But yeah, this goes back to, like, did we or did we not, in fact, underestimate this movie? I mean, we talked about the showgirl parties, but the fucking off-Broadway musical?
Whoa, listen. That actually I might want to check out, because it looks like funny as hell.
It did look hilarious as hell, especially the lead actress playing Elizabeth Berkley.
Yeah, the fact that she played her in the Saved by the Bell play, and then turns around and does a Showgirls musical, I was like, yo, that's actually pretty funny.
Yeah, and she actually does look like she has some comedic chops. I know, guzzling the pills on stage.
Yeah, the funny thing is, like, after watching the documentary, I did actually look up the play to see, like, if I could find it.
I knew you would.
Oh, absolutely.
I knew you would.
Because, like, it was the funniest thing ever. Because I'm like, as much as I hated that movie, when I saw the bits about that play happening, I'm like, yo, so they know that it's shit, but yet they want to make fun of it, but yet still make it a good play. Like, seeing just a little bit of the songs, I was enjoying it because I'm like, yo, this is actually pretty fucking funny.
Yeah.
And then, like, they did it in such a lighthearted way that it actually made it really enjoyable. Like, they knew what it was.
So
they wanted to continue making it funny and move forward with that.
It ran for years.
It did look entertaining. It did. It looked really well made. I mean, all honesty, and the story about that girl, like, wasn't she raped or something? And
yeah,
she had an issue, and her boyfriend was the one who said, I think you need to do this to get over your fears. And I thought that was really cool, and it's kind of like become her signature part now, is becoming like an Elizabeth Berkley character on stage.
Yeah, it fit too. Like, what you were joking about the pills, and like they were saying that like she actually used that to help get through. Like the girl had showed the Elizabeth Berkley character. I can't remember her from Saved by the Bell. I don't remember her name.
Jessie
There you go. She had the caffeine addiction and stuff like that. And like as soon as you see like the picture of her on stage, like taking the pills, all of a sudden she turns around and she's guzzling the whole bottle. I lost it. I'm like, you get to see like 30-second clips of each like, little thing. And like, this is what caught my interest. It was like, out of the whole hour and a half of this documentary, that 10-minute segment is what actually caught my interest. I was like, it was worth the not really worth the hour and a half. But the 10 minutes was like cool, like something like opening my eyes, like yes, this could actually have been funny. So it's like, yeah, like what is it? The one song's called "Warrior," and I laughed about it because you're a whore and you're a warrior. I was like, really? This is the song? Like. By the way, it's on YouTube. Not YouTube. It's on iTunes for like $7. The soundtrack. No, I did not buy it.
Oh, did you buy it?
Yeah, I was gonna say, just wait.
I'm just gonna, later today, I'm just gonna send you a clip of one of the songs. And you're
will.
like, I super hate you guys right now.
That reminds me of Evil Dead the musical in a way, where it's just this underground off-Broadway musical that gets all this attention, and people are just loving every second of it. It knows exactly what it is, and it's goddamn hilarious.
Like even with that one, the Showgirls musical had the same feel. Like you said, they knew what they were doing. They were having fun with it. So like it does compare without the amount of violence compared to Evil Dead, which I really enjoyed seeing that one live.
Oh hell yeah,
the splatter zone.
But yeah, I was like, I'm kind of curious. Like now, I kind of want to see it. So I actually looked it up. I think it was. What was that, Monday, to see if they actually had anything. Like they have a website, but there's like really nothing on there. It shows like how much, like when it ended on Broadway, like the off Broadway and stuff like that. I thought there would have been more there.
Oh, COVID.
But, yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, I'd definitely check it out.
Next year's anniversary.
Yeah, Pennies to Heaven.
No. Just stop right there. You thought Showgirls was worth? I think Pennies from Heaven has you beat.
Oh,
has it beat? We're not even gonna mention any further about that movie. All I did was see the trailer, and that was enough. I want my 2 minutes back.
We probably could shoot it better on our phones than that movie looked.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, the documentary didn't even mention Pennies from Heaven.
Good thing too.
I'm glad they didn't. Like, I'm glad they just stuck with the first movie. Like, they showed everything around it. They showed Elizabeth Berkley struggle with everything, dealing with it after the fact.
Yeah.
And was it the 20th anniversary? They did a not live streaming, like almost a live viewing.
Screening.
Yeah,
and she showed up.
Mm-hmm.
And she actually introduced it and did the whole hand thing.
Yeah.
I was laughing because I'm like, yo, it took you 20 years to realize, like, yo, this movie didn't really tank your career, but it did. So just kind of embrace the shit, all right?
Just embrace the awfulness of it.
Well, she saw the fan base and got all encouraged about that it wasn't totally wasted.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it damaged her career at that point in time, but now it's like become meaningful to a lot of people, like especially like the homosexual and drag community they mentioned. And hey, that's great, man. That's always cool when you have a piece of art that's like symbolic to you and a community. I think that's awesome. I mean, maybe that's another reason why we don't get it, but I mean, like I said, I mean, I can watch the movie straight through and just be like, I still don't understand.
I understand it.
I mean, I have multiple times throughout my life, besides the last time, we did for the review, and I'm like, there's nothing that you can say or convince me that is going to make me want to watch this movie again.
Mm-hmm. I mean, even with critics changing their minds after the years had passed, some of them changed their minds, some of them really didn't, because Metacritic, it still holds a 16, 4.9 IMDb, and a 22% Rotten Tomatoes. So even with some of the changes from the critics, it's still really, really bad in terms of critical reception reviews. I mean, Siskel and Ebert, they destroyed the movie. Everybody destroyed the movie. It was like almost trying to see who can top who can write the nastiest review about this movie. And it just, how does one view the movie? And the documentary exploits this. How does one view this movie? As A, a piece of shit, B, a masterpiece, or C, a masterpiece of shit?
I wouldn't say it's a masterpiece of shit. I mean, because there is like a real hard art to it that they put a lot of heart and soul into making.
Mm-hmm.
It's a story that doesn't appeal to me.
Yeah,
is what it is. And I mean, the acting is not all that great, minus Gina Gershon, like we said.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, I've hardly ever seen her do a bad performance at all. No. I mean, Kyle MacLachlan's not bad in it, really. He's a bad guy, but it wasn't like his performance was fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, other than that, I really don't have much to say.
I thought you guys were fishing for me to say something nice about this movie. I'm still.
Are you gonna say something?
I'm still refusing to say something nice about this movie.
Hey, aren't you happy you saw Gina Gershon's tits in it?
Listen, I've seen them before. I'm not lying. Dude, that movie Bound with Jennifer Tilly with her.
Yeah.
You've seen them. You've seen them.
Mhm.
Like, talking about tits, like, even in the documentary, like, that whole big reveal between Gina Gershon and Elizabeth Berkley when she rips down her shirt, and they're like, oh, look, they're tits. Yes, we've seen them 150 times before. We don't care. Continue with the story.
Woo tits. Okay.
Yeah.
No, but they were right about that. Because it was like, what's the purpose of that?
Yeah, because up to that point, you have seen him so much that you're like, whoop-de-doo, it's not a reveal anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There was no build-up for it, and it was
No.
just unnecessary.
It was an awful script. I mean, I know Joe Esterhaus from Basic Instinct. He wrote the script for Showgirls, and it's the obvious flaws when you watch this movie are clearly writing and acting. Like movies we talked about, like The Room, Samurai Cop. Those are two things that stand out that are just awful. It has no wit. It's unintentionally hilarious, and it was meant to be taken seriously before, not as a comedy. According to Kyle MacLachlan, it was meant to be a serious drama. Like we said, like I don't think even Joe Esterhaus knew what he was doing when he wrote the character Nomi. I mean, maybe it was like one of those weird coincidences where the documentary brings up Nomi can be portrayed in 3 different ways. Would you like to get to know me? There is no me, or no me, all about her, all about just everyone's own self-interests.
Or everything in one.
But yeah, the documentary, at least, I'm glad it points out the really fucking hilarious moments in the movie. Like the moment where she's driving down the alleyway and just chomps down the fucking burger, talking to the guy as she's just like, oh yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, they even brought up the fact about the whole fry fling shit. That
Yes!
But and also the amount of carnage she caused by causing so many accidents within the first, 10 minutes of the movie?
Yeah.
I was like, dude, the movie could have ended if she got hit by the car. I was hoping for the car at this point.
3 near fatal car crashes in the first 10 minutes. She's a fucking tornado. I'm glad the critics point out, like, what are her and her friend gonna do right now? They're about to make out or something? What is this?
I didn't even realize that until they actually showed the clip. Like, I was not, like, it didn't dawn on me, like, oh, they even the music? Oh, why would you even do that? They literally just met. Like, what the hell?
You know,
You saved her life from being smashed by the car. Fuck you, by the way, for doing that, but let that happen next time.
and that's where, after we got done watching the movie, the documentary, I mean, we talked about how 90% of what was in that documentary, we said in our podcast. Like, we talked about the fries. We talked about the name. We talked about her damn near making out with Molly. And then yet, we still get comments from people that are saying, you guys don't understand. You're idiots.
We could be. I'm like I said, maybe we watched it wrong, but clearly there's a...
But in the documentary, we pointed out, like, everything that they said.
Yeah.
And people like this documentary, apparently.
It's not bad. I mean, the one thing I always look into, what makes this documentary stand out above other documentaries? Like, what can you do differently? And this will go into, I'll talk more about this, about like what my favorite thing was about the documentary, but it does do a couple creative things in terms of almost making like this being about Paul Verhoeven and almost making it like a shared universe. That's something we'll get more in towards the very end though, but that was something that did it differently compared to any other documentary I've ever seen. I mean, in terms of documentaries, despite the fact that I'm not a huge fan of Michael Moore, I have no problem admitting that Bowling for Columbine is probably my favorite documentary I've ever seen. Despite the fact that I don't really care for him as a filmmaker, I do like what he did with that movie. Because there are a few documentaries that I love to watch, and there are ones... It's a sensitive subject because for film nerds, it's great. Like a lot of other film nerds love seeing documentaries because that's how a lot of people get started. That's how they find something that they're very passionate about. And for me, I'm like hit or miss. And for this one, I'd say this is kind of like in the middle. It's not the best. It's not the worst that I've seen.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It also depends on the topic that at hand when you're talking about a documentary.
Mm-hmm.
and what kind of stories are being told in the behind the scenes. And then you also got to be careful about what's true or what's not.
That's true.
Because, look at how Kyle MacLachlan and Elizabeth Berkley said two totally different things for a pitch.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard Wes Craven talk about the idea for Freddy's Claw in two different documentaries, and he said one was he just saw a cat, kind of do one of those, extend its claws out, but then two other documentaries he talked about a bear claw was the inspiration, and it's like, all right, dude, what is it? You're the dude who created
honestly,
it.
It might have been both, because you have two different perspectives. He might have seen one thing and then saw another. Same thing with Kyle MacLachlan and Elizabeth Berkley. You're seeing it through two different eyes. He's telling two different people two different things, but it still was under the same concept. He saw an animal with claws, gave him the concept. Mm-hmm. So it's sometimes you just gotta boil it down to, he's talking, someone's talking here, you gotta boil it down to what's the basic concept of that?
But when you're doing a documentary, you want to be straightforward, tell the truth, and that's what it is.
Mm-hmm. That's what we watch them for.
Yeah.
I was I think I own maybe 5 documentaries. Obviously, they're all horror. I'm not gonna own this one though.
It's okay if you don't.
Yeah. It was worth a watch, but like I said, we did talk about a good portion of it on the podcast, where we don't have enough credit to be taken literal, but this actually proves that we do look up, we do what's the word I'm looking for? We do our research before we actually talk. Yes, I may talk shit for an hour and a half. That's my favorite thing to do, but I'll at least do the research so I can talk more shit. If I hate something, I'm gonna research it more so I can talk shit about it more. And that is how I work. If I hate something so passionately, I will look up more shit to talk about how much I hate this movie. I didn't do it this time because literally the hate was already there.
Yeah, you'd rather go clean your gutters than watch this again.
Literally, you all heard what I had to say about it. So I'm I can't reiterate anything, but you guys can literally just go back and rewatch that episode. How much, that's why it took me 2-3 months after they did to watch the documentary. But it's I put all my hate aside. I watched the documentary with a clear mind because I figured it's something different. It's not the movie. Let's go from there. I didn't really learn anything because I already did the research to hate on it.
That's how I felt. I felt like I didn't really learn anything new. I mean, besides what John said, some of the little more behind the scenes symbolism and other, but it wasn't like it improved the movie.
No.
I just watched it and said, okay.
The only thing I really learned was about Paul Verhoeven's filmography and a little bit about him as the director. That's the one thing that I took out from this documentary, is that I learned more about him.
I'd say, honestly, they could have just done a documentary about him and touched on Showgirls lightly. It probably would have been a better documentary.
It could have, yeah.
They did mention something about how the writer and Verhoeven had a fallout then.
They did, yeah.
Did they have a fallout while Showgirls was filming, or was it just afterwards? I don't remember.
It could have been during the filming, I think. I think the documentary, it was because it was a difficult process. The entire movie itself was, because they were, fighting with the MPAA in terms of can we get this to an R rating, but there's no way in hell it's going to be an R rating. It's going to be an NC-17, and they just rolled with it. And there was a lot of miscommunication going on between director and writer, so that probably was. There might have been a boiling point during the process of the filming of the movie, and then it just had a fallout after the movie was released. But it's a very short documentary. If you want to give it a view, by all means, go for it. Like I said, not the best, not the worst.
I'd say for the kid's directorial debut, he did an amazing job. It was shot well.
Yeah.
I was actually impressed with that. Most documentaries, they're shot decent, but you got the shaky cam and it kind of annoys the hell out of me, or the angle's weird. But this one, they set up everything good, and I was the interviews were done really well, so I was impressed with that. And like I said, we didn't learn too much, but the few things that we did learn, I enjoyed. So finding out about the musical, finding out about Paul Verhoeven, wow, I can't even say his name today. Paul Verhoeven, and finding more about his filmography was kind of cool. But like I said, if he would have just done a documentary about him and then kind of segued into Showgirls a little more, I think it would have been a cooler concept. Yeah, because most of the stuff that was in the documentary, I'm okay.
Yeah. I hope we get one day.
Yeah. I hope that kid actually does it.
Maybe he would. I mean, seriously, he did a decent job with this one, so I can see him making one about Paul Verhoeven.
Yeah, I think he did a really good job with the documentary. It was short, to the point. It said what it had to say. He didn't really lag on any specific parts that you felt were like, okay, just move on here, bud? You know, he injected some like really good humor, or whoever he worked with editing, like the part where they show RoboCop freaking out, and they were talking about one part of Showgirls, and he's like, ah!
That's yeah. You know, oh man.
And that was actually the one thing I did enjoy, was them taking his old movies and interjecting them throughout the documentary. Mm-hmm. That and it actually fit like the scene that they were talking about. I'm like, I didn't realize it was his movies until they actually started talking about his career, and I'm like, yo, that was actually really cool. Like the part where Colin was just talking about RoboCop freaking out, and then on the screens they have clips from Showgirls, and I'm like, sounds about right.
Yeah, it's just like a shared universe, almost like these movies are interconnected in some way.
Yeah, and I thought that was really cool and really well done, and it was like a form to like keep you invested and give you a sense of humor and laugh about the stuff.
Most of all, he made the documentary entertaining, and that definitely helped.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was educational, yeah, but like I said, with a lot of what we were supposed to learn, we had already talked about. And it kind of made me feel good that, you know, like, with it being our highly viewed podcast episode on YouTube, that, you know, like, what we said was in this thing. You know, so it was like Jeff said, we apparently did our homework, and so did this guy, so it was like, all right, cool.
Let's say, first off, John took 4 fucking pages of notes, so he did enough research for the 3 of us.
It's true.
And then when Colin and myself had to do some research, I think I had, half a page? He had probably a page.
On a little notepad.
Yeah, dude, I was like, I had it written down, like, it was like angry ramblings of a man just, like, written there, like, fuck this movie. But it's like, John alone probably did so much research on this movie. I learned stuff from John, and I was like, if you took notice, like, even throughout the original podcast, I barely talked because I was listening. That, and, you know, I didn't have anything nice to say, but but it's sometimes it is enjoyable just listening to, like, these two talk about it, because, like, I don't have the film background like they do. Yes, I've helped out Colin with his. I've yet to actually help out John, but
someday.
Yeah.
No, you don't want to.
How dare you?
But it's like showing that, like, listening to their expertise is kind of cool, because where I'm just an asshole with an opinion. That's all it's going to come down to. But as you guys now know, I do my research, so I have a bigger asshole opinion. That was actually the one thing from the original podcast. I did not realize what I said. Because, like, straight up anger, and I just said so much. These two are sitting here quoting me for now almost, well, actually over a year on stupid stuff that I said. I'm like, I didn't even realize I said it. I ended up having to re-listen to those clips because I'm like, there's no way I said, oh, I did. Oh, my. Because, like, I even admitted during the whole quarantine episode, I don't rewatch the episodes unless something happens. So, like, they said something, I've had to go research it because I'm like, there's no way. Like, so half the time I'm like, they start quoting me. I'm like, I don't remember saying this.
What are you talking about?
Yeah,
like we're crazy.
Yeah, like there's no way. I said, oh, I did say this. The only thing I wish would have happened before seeing that movie, I wish I would have fell down the stairs before Crystal, just so I wouldn't have to rewatch this movie.
Or would you wish you were below the stairs to catch her?
I don't know. The way she landed, I think it hurt me more.
Should we go into favorite things?
Yeah, sure.
We already kind of shed light on this, but, like, my favorite thing, obviously, that we talked about was the blending of the scenes in Verhoeven's previous movies, connecting it all to Showgirls. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger in Total Recall in his apartment, watching the reviews of Showgirls happening. Michael Douglas from Basic Instinct on the computer screen researching Showgirls. RoboCop's dream sequences. I think, was it the pool scene that he was freaking out over?
Could be.
It might have been.
It might have been. But it's just like the iconic scene of him just like going back and forth, and then all of a sudden the big climactic moment, boom! And he just comes out of the dream. It's fun. It's entertaining. I've never seen that before, and I actually didn't even realize it because I thought what Arnold Schwarzenegger was doing in his apartment in Total Recall was actually the movie, not him looking at Showgirl reviews. But then it was when Michael Douglas in Basic Instinct was, like, you could see Showgirls all over the screen, like, oh, I see what he's doing. This is good. This is clever. I like that.
I liked how they talked about Paul Verhoeven, his background, because I didn't know too much about him. how he went to the Razzie Awards and accepted it and had an amazing sense of humor.
Yeah.
And how he's kind of renaissanced himself. To hear that, how he's come back, because I think after Showgirls he did Starship Troopers, and I've never seen Starship Troopers before, but it looks so bad too.
It's got very dated CGI. Very dated CGI, but like when the creatures are up close, when you can actually see the robotic movements, it actually looks really good. There's some pretty bad performances. I mean, Denise Richards is in it. I mean, come on.
I'm just saying.
Arguably, that might be her best work. Sadly, that might be her best work as an actress.
Hold on.
Wait,
You're telling me Wild Things is not her best work?
That's right. Never mind. That is her best work.
Wait, so
I take that back.
So you mean that reality show where she was herself isn't all that good either?
Wait, there's a reality show.
Yeah.
No fucking way.
It was like right after she divorced Charlie Sheen.
It's entertaining, like his other work, like his other '90s work.
I'm just saying, Neil Patrick Harris is in it. Really young Neil Patrick Harris.
I love when that movie is mentioned in Harold and Kumar Escape from Guantanamo Bay. The one, like, FBI agent encounters Neil Patrick Harris. He just says, "I got 2 words for you. Starship, fucking troopers."
Well, Jeff, do you have anything?
I actually already stated the one thing I enjoyed about the documentary was finding about the musical, which is odd because I'm not really big on musicals, but but like I said, it being a satire of Showgirls actually caught my interest. And like I said, the song Warrior was what really was like, what?
I did have somebody argue with me about how they listened to our Rocky Horror Picture Show episode, and they said, well, how comes you guys like Rocky Horror Picture Show? This is a bad movie, and you guys, thought this was so great. And I was like, I never saw Rocky Horror as a bad movie.
No.
I never did. Like, I actually saw it as really entertaining, and I saw that movie in the early 90s, and I was single digits. I didn't get the sex stuff. I didn't give a flying fuck that Tim Curry was in drag. I mean, it took me back, like, oh, here's a guy in women's clothes, but I didn't care.
Yeah.
And I actually thought that it was well made. The music was good. I enjoyed the acting. I thought there were a lot of elements, and storyline wise, it is so off the wall, but when you know that it's like a satire of all the old campy movies, it makes it better. Mm-hmm. Like Showgirls, I don't know what exactly it was satiring besides Vegas and just overblown people and narcissism, and maybe it's because like we also see it every day. And let's face it, we know so many narcissistic people, especially in our generation, that it's like, I don't need to watch that. I don't need to watch all these like overblown like fucking makeup and like purple lights and all this other bullshit. Mm-hmm. And Rocky Horror was a fun movie, yeah.
Dude, that had a solid soundtrack. It had everything. Like, you had the humor, you had the horror, you had at least the satire of I would say even the Universal Monsters era.
Yeah.
Like, it was all there, and, like, there's a big difference between that and Showgirls in my book.
Oh, yeah, for me,
absolutely.
too.
This, like, Rocky Horror was more thought out than I thought Showgirls ever was.
Yeah.
Because, like, you could see where point A and point B were connecting. Showgirls, I didn't know where point A and point B connected. I didn't even know where C and D started. E and F were fucking left field. And Kyle MacLachlan getting fucked in a pool was not even involved.
Point Z fucked off to Mars. I mean, my God.
But Jeff did know that the name of the show was Goddess.
Yo, because the end of the movie, man. End of the movie, last thing you see is the billboard and the credits roll. That's why it's stuck in my head, because that is the last thing you see. And horrible.
But after watching the doc, I am really proud to see that these guys and us had a real sense of like doing our research and then talking about it. Do we like it? No. I mean, there's nothing that I don't think the three of us will say that we'll like it, because we went over it, and I heard Tarantino say, hey, he thought it was great, it was fantastic, and it's like, hey, cool, but
okay.
Yeah, but I mean, does that make it this A-list classic anymore? No.
Like I said before, from a technical standpoint, in terms of cinematography, lighting, all of that is, above acceptable. It's actually well thought out and done from a technical standpoint. That's great. It doesn't change the fact that the script is terrible and that the acting all around isn't great.
And I'm not going to bash anybody for liking the movie. Because, I mean, there are movies out there that I like that people don't like. There's actors that I like that people don't like. And, hey, I don't care.
Right.
We got variety in life, people.
Yeah. The universal quote is that film is subjective. Everybody's got their own opinion.
Mm-hmm. And that's why we talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because we like this bouncing back stuff, and then other people can listen to Jeff and relate to him, or they can listen to John and I and relate to us, or maybe they'll have a different opinion, or maybe they'll hear something where it's like, you know, maybe Rocky Horror really isn't a bad movie after what these guys have said. Maybe Showgirls is actually art, but it's not a good movie. It's entertaining.
Everyone's entitled to their opinion. No matter what's being said, like, yeah, I'm not gonna hate John because he said Joker was an amazing movie. I just know it's an opinion, and I'm not gonna hate anybody for it.
Now, somebody would say that Joker is how the origin of Joker should be. Then I got a problem with you, because no, comic books are better.
Least favorite thing. I tell you one thing that I didn't really care so much in the documentary is that you hear the voiceover from the people being interviewed, but you never actually see them. And I thought that was an issue. I don't know if these people being interviewed, they didn't want their face exposed on camera, but everyone is like this. Everybody that is talking in the background, you hear the voiceover, but you never actually see them. It's confusing as to who is talking sometimes, and that was distracting as the images are flying everywhere. For me, it helps to see people sitting down and sharing their feelings, like most interviews. You get the little caption of who is talking, what they've done before, and just sitting in a chair or standing or wherever their environment is, and you actually see their emotions on their face, not just hear what's going on in the background. That to me was weak. Like I said, I don't know if they didn't want to be on camera or if this is a director choice. I'm not sure, but for me that was unclear. That's just one thing I didn't like. I like to see people in documentaries. I like to see the interviews actually happening.
Yeah,
not
it makes
just their
sense.
voiceover.
If you want to see, like you said, the emotion coming from as they're answering a question, like when I guess the big one that stuck out to me was Elizabeth Berkley finally talking about the movie. I was like, you actually got to see that she realized like the cult classicness of this, and I was like, all right, now I understand. You know, that was the 20th anniversary, because we're on the 25th almost.
Yeah,
25th. Yeah.
As I look at a watch, it's gonna tell me.
Hey, Marty McFly did it in the Back to the Future poster. Yeah, I really don't have anything negative to say about the documentary.
Yeah, like honestly, I was impressed. Like I wish they would have expanded a little bit more. Like yes, it's stuff we saw, but once again, like I said, if they would have been Paul Verhoeven and then branching off on that, talking about this, I think it would have been, which is essentially what they did. Mm-hmm. But if they would have expanded more on his career too, I think it would be more of a better doc. But I understand it's just for Showgirls, so it made more of an interest that way than the movie itself. So,
if anything, I'd say I think it would have been neat to get the actual actors, but I know you can't. You know, it just doesn't work like that every time. Like one of the best documentaries I've ever seen is Never Sleep Again.
The Elm Street Legacy.
Yeah,
that's a very good one.
And they had like literally everybody. I think the only person they didn't get who became really popular from that whole series was Johnny Depp, and I can only imagine how hard it would be to get him anyway.
Yeah.
But it's even that, like, you're talking about Never Sleep Again, their follow-up with Crystal Lake Memories. Like,
mm-hmm.
It's nice seeing, like, them able to talk to the people.
Yeah.
So, like, that was the one thing, like, he's pointing out, like, if the emotion's not there, like, you're not going to see it. So if you're not able to get them, it's cool, we understand, it's just, it kind of, like, expands it a little more.
Yeah. Like, to hear what somebody like Kyle MacLachlan would say, especially because I don't think he really does talk about it a whole lot, or at least in interviews.
No, he doesn't.
Like, when we were doing research for the Showgirls podcast, I remember seeing quite a bit of interviews with Gina Gershon. Like, she didn't shy away from talking about the movie.
She actually seemed like she just enjoyed it. She knew what it was.
Oh, yeah.
She just enjoyed just doing it because, she was the star, and kind of, like, just, that's what it is.
And she's so smart, too. She knows, like, everything that happened with that movie, and how she could, like, save her career. I don't even know if her career was really damaged from it, but...
Not at all.
She didn't really have a big career to begin with. It was, like, little parts here and there. Like, it was, I'd say, B movies, but
But you know who she is.
Yeah.
You do know who she is. Yeah, like Face Off, I remember her from that. And
Oh, yeah.
The movie, was it Down with Jennifer Tilly? Was that was
Bound.
Bound, not Down. Okay, Bound. That's right.
Yeah.
She's been around. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I've always appreciated like her opinions on stuff and listening to her talk in interviews, just about like anything she does, really. So when she was talking about Showgirls and there was a lot of media about it, I thought, okay, cool, I want to listen to her. And there was one with her and Paul Verhoeven together. They were like sitting together on stools in front of an audience, and I thought, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And now both of them just they didn't care. They let it all out.
Yeah, because like I said, they knew what it was. After seeing the reviews, the amount of hate that movie got originally, they understood that what it was. And
I think Elizabeth Berkley would have been the icing on the cake to just say, what are your thoughts and feelings now? And given the camera right in front of her.
I think that would have made the documentary for me if they would have actually had her come out and state how she actually felt about it, how it affected her life, stuff like that. Like, it would have expanded her. Like, yeah, we got clips of her in interviews and then a clip of her from the 20th, but it wasn't actually her now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because I think it was awful that she did get ripped apart from critics. Because even Paul Verhoeven, that was another really cool thing about Paul Verhoeven that he said in the documentary was he blamed a lot of what happened in that movie and what happened to her on him. Because he told her to act like that. He said, that's how I wanted her to be. So if you're going to attack anybody, attack me. And, you know, that's kind of like how I feel. And I know Jeff's probably going to go, ugh. But when we heard about Robert Pattinson getting cast as Batman, yep, here he goes.
Here he goes. He's getting up.
You know, everybody immediately thought, oh, Twilight. And it's like, look, he's an actor. He just gets up, does his thing, and that's the way it is. And it's like, all right.
I feel like he is the version of like your mom saying, hey, we've got Batman at home. And that's the Batman at home. Like
listen.
I'm pretty sure everybody got drunk after they were free from their Twilight contracts. Like, fuck yeah, we're done. We don't have to do this shit franchise anymore. Now we can do what we actually want to do.
I mean, I'll be the first to admit that I don't think he looks like a Batman or a Bruce Wayne, but neither did Michael Keaton. So, I mean, actors act.
That's what people said. Like, Mr. Mom is Batman? Are you kidding me?
Yo, Mr. Mom was amazing.
Mr. Mom was a funny movie.
But that's what we're saying. Like, how can this comedian be a brooding, dark hero?
And he was.
And he was.
But, you know.
I mean, if you look at Christian Bale, like, dude does a lot of independent movies. He played Batman really well. You've got Ben Affleck, who was a star. He still did an amazing job as Batman and Bruce Wayne. So it's like, if I give him the benefit of the doubt for being in Twilight, and then all of a sudden being Batman that looks like a kid did a better costume, then I'd probably maybe agree.
we whispering? He's saying something under his breath.
Just say it, Jeff.
We'll say that for another time, because guarantee we're going to probably touch on that movie at some point.
We did get off topic a little bit, but yeah.
So do you guys have anything else to say about You Don't Know Me?
No. I'd say, honestly, I think we touched on a lot. Like, we have grown in a year on what we've seen, what we've talked about. We've done more research. So, like, as a group here, I feel like we've grown. And it's nice because, like, we're seeing where we started, where we're all on our cell phones trying to get this started. And this being an anniversary episode, like, this is the one movie, I swear to all that is unholy, that should have not got the amount of views that it did, but I'm happy it did. Like, people talk about it, I hear it at work, and it's funny because, like I said, I don't remember saying half the shit, and then people were quoting me, and I'm like, I guess it is what it is, man.
I hear it at my job too. I go out with the guys, and people are like, "Yo, did you hear Colin's podcast?" And some of them are like, "Oh yeah, like what's it about?" And I get guys go, "Yo, you gotta listen to Showgirls. His one friend is still off the fucking rails, man." But it's hilarious.
It's nice seeing that we're able to come back and like revisit this, because this ultimately is where we had one of the biggest reactions between the three of us, other than Blair Witch, which was straight up an arguing I'd say like a straight up fighting match.
It was divided. It was 2 and 2.
It was actually amazing, but this was the only other one where you actually got to see the 3 different points of view. So, like, you had the art one from John. You had my very opinionated. You had Colin being the mediator between the two of us because there had to be a middle ground, and somehow Colin ended up with it. And it was nice to see this, like, coming back and, like, after begrudgingly re-listening to Showgirls and then watching the documentary, I was like, all right, now I got to see what we were all talking about. I got to see everything. So it's like I got to see it through fresh eyes, and it was cool seeing it that way. Like, all right, cool, we did talk about a lot of the stuff, and I feel like as a group with us growing like this, it's going to get better.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that was kind of one thing I took away from the documentary was it was a little inspirational to see that what we said before this doc even came out was, we had it down.
Yeah.
And like you said, Jeff, here we were on our cell phones, recording this thing, and now we got professional microphones and setups, and people want to be guests on the show now, and the YouTube channel's growing.
And it's actually all because of the fans, man. Like, we enjoy doing it. I enjoy just screaming about movies. Ultimately, that's all it is. I love screaming about movies. Like, I can even love the movie. I will start screaming about it. I'm gonna get off quick topic. I remember there was one time I was at a Christmas party, and people were talking shit on Batman vs. Superman and how much Marvel was the better thing. I almost fought 8 people at a Christmas party standing up for Batman vs. Superman because I knew that it was a comic book movie for comic book fans, and my wife had to pull me away. She goes, "You don't know these people." I'm like, I don't give a fuck.
And for those of you who don't know, Jeff, he would have fucking fought him too.
Oh my god, it'd be like Bane versus like a couple pawns from Gotham City.
But it's like that's how passionate I've become about movies. Like, I've done the conventions, I actually get to meet the people, it was cool. But it's like, ultimately, it comes down to, I'm just going to scream about a movie. If it's amazing, if it's horrible, I'm just going to scream about it. Because I like to yell about movies. That's where the opinionated asshole comes from. It's just, it's fun for me. And it's like, they just like listening sometimes. Because I've sent them stupid shit over the past year, and they get a laugh out of it.
You did tell a director of a movie his movie sucked to his face.
Yo, that was another one I thought was funny. I was at a horror movie convention. Guy asked me about that movie Incubus with Robert Englund and the dude from NSYNC.
Joey Fatone.
Yeah. And I didn't realize, like, I just started, like, talking about how the movie itself was horrible. The script was written by, like, a 2-year-old. I go, as I'm watching it, the movie didn't make sense, and I felt like there was so much cut out. And then the whole time, Lexi, my wife, was pulling on my sleeve, trying to get my attention, and I'm just like, hold on, I'm almost done. And then I look down. This dude is the writer-director of this movie, and I just told him his movie was a piece of shit. But the funniest thing is, he agreed with me because he felt like the person who distributed it cut out the best parts. And I'm like, from what I saw, there was no best part. I'm like, yo, this movie was probably like, if you're looking at a scale of like shitty movies, like if Showgirls is my bottom, this is like a right above that. And after that said, I was like, I was not even like embarrassed that I said it. I was more embarrassed that my wife had to watch me act like an asshole in front of somebody. So it's not that like I said, I'm just very opinionated about movies, and you guys all know it at this point, and it's fun. Like I said, it's fun. But it will get me into circumstances where I may actually get thrown out of some place.
I mean, deep down, we all love movies. That's what got us all together, and what's all, got us doing this podcast. So
Yeah.
It is what it is, It's what how it all started.
I do have a quick question. Do you think our Showgirls review may have inspired the documentary to be made? Doubtful, yeah.
Because by the time our documentary would have came out, and by the time they were filming everything, I think it would have already been.
It's incredibly doubtful. There's no way, but it's fun to think about, though.
Yeah, like it would have been nice, but also like I was watching, was it Cursed Films on Shudder, and they talked about something we were talking about in our podcast about the serial killer on the set.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy actually stated he heard this in a podcast. And I was like trying to look through to see if this guy actually mentioned us or it was another podcast.
Okay.
But it was like one of those moments I'm like, wait, was that us?
What? Are you talking about
now?
The Exorcist?
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Oh,
Exorcist,
okay.
the serial killer on set. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I wish they would have like give something at the end of the movie, like end of the episode, like whether or not like what podcast it was. It would have been funny, but it's like doubtful again that. So it's like,
Shit.
yeah.
I think we covered everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. This might have been longer than the documentary.
It probably was.
We're 20 minutes short, so if you guys just want to...
We'll just keep the microphones going, just let Jeff ramp some more.
That'll come in due time, too. We got some more stuff cooking up.
We really do.
Yep. We got plans. October's coming up.
Best
We're all big Halloween fans, so of course we're gonna do our nothing but horror.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I'm already trying to figure out the 31 Days movies, but I have to include Thea, so I can't like have all straight up murder and gore. It's gonna be like a nice mixture of like stuff when she's at daycare and stuff for when I can watch with her. And then I gotta add in stuff for Lexi because she doesn't like all the gore too sometimes.
You should like have your own TV guide, basically.
It's pretty much what it becomes. Like it becomes a list of movies, and then I show it to her, see what she wants to watch, and then I'll move it around.
Yeah.
What's wrong with them?
Well, my kid's almost 2, and I figured letting her watch something really gory would probably affect her down the road. I'd feel like a scumbag and a monster.
She watched Samurai Cop with you.
Oh, she watched a lot of stuff with me. Come on, I had a moment the other day. We're watching the new Bill and Ted, and it's all about Bill and Ted's daughters. And the one daughter, her name is Thea, which is, by the way, that was funny. She's sitting on my lap, and we're just watching this movie, and I'm sitting there going, having a moment with her. I'm like, yo, this was me when I was a kid, so when you have kids, you better be doing the same fucking thing. But
Good stuff.
yeah, like that kid has seen a lot of movies. Like I'll actually take pictures of her watching a movie with me and send it to these guys, because like the one that caught me off guard was Nightmare Before Christmas. She got so emotional that Jack was getting upset. She started like trying to get to the TV and hug him because she's like talking to him, like reaching for him. I'm like, honey, it's okay, it's only a movie. And I'm like, that's what gets me, like seeing her reaction to see movies for the first time. So like. That's, I think, my biggest thing right now. She's learning. She's getting to see cool things. Listen, I've seen Frozen and Frozen 2 like a million fucking times. So at this point, it's ingrained in my brain that those are her movies.
One of the best quotes ever, though. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. My daughter couldn't even watch it. She's fucking 5 months old.
Exactly.
But the best image is her watching Samurai Cop right outside the restaurant scene, right before the big fight and the guy getting his arm chopped off happened.
I think it was the edited version, too. I think I was watching the riff tracks.
The riff tracks version.
I had to put something.
All right, let's wrap this up.
Mm-hmm.
So that is You Don't Know Me. Wait, is that right?
You Don't Know Me, directed by Jeffrey McHale.
I keep getting that the WWE Edge theme song.
You think
you know me?
It probably would have been a better title, too.
With Adam Copeland on there. But that'll wrap up this episode of The Asylum. Thank you all for listening again. Until next time, we're going to sign off. This is Colin Peters.
John Rochetter.
And always Jeff Manfred.
Thank
Enjoy.
you all again. See you next session.
Please, somebody help me.